Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Neuro-Inclusive Dog Pod, the podcast where we bridge the gap between neurodivergence and the dog world. So, as usual, today I've got another fantastic guest for you guys to listen into. So, without further ado, hi Claire, welcome to the podcast. Could you start off by introducing yourself and telling everybody a little bit about you and what you do?
Hi, Katrina. So I'm Claire Harris, founder of Pets to Places Limited, which is the UK's first pet taxi franchise. So we are a pet taxi service. It's like a people taxi, but our customers are pets.
Amazing, amazing. So, how did you first get into pet transport? It's quite a niche area, isn't it? So, what made you first go down that route?
It was actually really random how the business started. So somebody I know used to work in the vets as a receptionist, and they said to me, we were just having a conversation one day, and they said, "Oh, we're always getting people call up and say they need to get their pet to the vet, but they don't drive, or the people taxis aren't always willing to take pets depending on what pet you have."
Yeah.
Um, and they said to me, "Oh, you love animals and you're really good with people. Why don't you do it?" So I was like, "Oh, might as well." And that's literally how the business started.
Amazing, amazing. That's really interesting, isn't it? Like how we all, everybody that comes on the podcast, they all have this like unique little story, and I love hearing about it. So from that point there, when you first started the business, at what point did you think, oh, this is gonna grow? This is more than helping the odd person out. So what made you think, oh, there's a real need for this kind of service?
Um, I guess really it was just how easy it actually was to grow the business. Like I wasn't even really doing anything to grow the business. It just kind of grew by itself. So
Yeah.
probably because at the beginning I wasn't really taking it seriously. I was actually not really in a good place with my mental health. Like when
Mhm.
I first started the business. So I wasn't really trying hard to build a business or anything.
Yeah.
So the fact that it just grew organically, really quickly and really easily without me actually having to put any effort into it,
Yeah.
um, it just so after like 6 months and more people were calling and they were saying, "Oh, I got your number from so and so," and I was like, "Oh, wow, really? That's cool." So business, I wasn't out there looking for customers; they were out there looking for me. So I thought,
Yeah.
"Wow, this is cool. This is easy."
Amazing, amazing. It's a really nice way to grow a business, isn't it? Actually, to actually not have to go out there and find the clients when they just come and find you. So that's
It's
fantastic.
still to this day, though, 11 years later, that's pretty much still how it works, to be honest.
Amazing. That's fantastic. I love that. I love that there's such a need for it and people are just coming to you. It's amazing. So when people think of pet transport, a lot of people just assume it's getting a pet from A to B. So for anybody listening who isn't familiar with what actually goes on, could you explain a little bit more about what actually happens and how you go about doing it safely and properly, really?
Again, I think the outwardly people go, "Oh, you're a pet taxi. That means you just pick people up from somewhere and, drop them somewhere else, and there's very little else involved." But actually,
Yeah.
we're so much more than just a pet taxi. We're not just, honking the horn outside your house, waiting for you to put your dog in, and then off we go and just dropping it somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a really full-on support service for the owner as well as the pet. So because a lot of our customers are elderly, they're disabled, less able. Some of them are even housebound, so they don't come. But we've
Wow.
got a lot of customers who are just got learning difficulties and need that extra help as well. So we don't just like honk the horn and wait outside. We'll go knock on the door, help the customer get ready. If they need to be reminded, like, have you got your keys and your purse and everything else that you need with you? Or, if they're like quite an older person, if and it's cold outside, we'll say, "Oh, you need to put a coat on," and that kind of thing. We'll
Yeah.
help them get to the car. So a lot of our customers, they're not too steady on their feet, so they might just want an arm to hold on to whilst they walk to the car. They might want help putting a seatbelt on or something like that. Like whatever extra help that the customers need, that's what we do, whatever that looks like for each individual person. And the same with the pets as well. We don't just grab hold of the dog's leads and drag them off to the car. If
Yeah.
especially when we first meet dogs, if they're a bit nervous and they need a few extra minutes to have a good sniff of us and make sure we're okay, then that's what we do. We do it at the pet's pace as well. So if they are, like I say, if they're a bit more nervous, then We need
Yeah.
to give them an extra minute or two to just make sure that they're happy with us, that they're happy with the car. It's a new car, all new smells and everything, right? So
Yeah.
just take their time. We don't rush them. Yeah, so it really is so much more than just a pet taxi.
That's amazing, and that's one of the things when I was chatting to you before that I really picked up, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that, and I didn't realize that that was a thing because you think, like you say, of a pet taxi, you think, oh, they're just coming to take the pets or whatever, but knowing that
Yeah.
you do that human element and that human care, I suppose is that common for with what you find with like with pet taxi services because that to me sounds quite unique. Every pet taxi thing that I've come across tends to be but usually is something like I don't know, shipping the dog from A to B basically. So that human
Yeah.
element is something. Would you say it's that's one of your unique kind of things that you do in your business, or is that just standard for the industry really?
I think that is quite unique to us. So most people that do pet transport, they do what I would call multi-transporting. So, multiple different animals from multiple different households, and
Yeah.
generally they're doing that sort of long distance, from sort of one side of the country to the other. Whereas we do long distance transport if that's what the customer needs, but
Yeah.
focus solely on each individual person and their pet at a time and
Yeah.
in our local community. So a lot of the work that we do is in our own communities. So we've become like little mini celebrities in our own communities, which is lovely because you get to know like all of
Yeah.
the vets and groomers and stuff like that, and then the customers get to know you, and it's a really nice community feel and a nice community vibe. Whereas I don't think a lot of other pet transporters do what we do the way we do it. I think they literally are just that, I'll pick your dog up, I'll drop it somewhere else, and there's not that level of care because I don't think they don't tend to have the people with them, or they're not really offering the sort of services that we're offering. Theirs is more if you're buying a new pet, we'll pick it up for you or whatever. So I don't think what we're offering quite the same service. So yeah, we are definitely very unique in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, and it's lovely to hear, and it definitely more, needs to be more of you around all areas, and there's something we'll come on to in a little while in our chat. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So how does that work for if anybody's listening, thinking, oh, how does this work? Because I'm only used to pet taxi services, and they just pick the dog up. I didn't actually realize I can go with my dog to the vets or whatever. So from a pricing perspective, like do you price things on a case by case basis? So, for example, if they're going to the vets and stuff, because obviously I'm presuming your services will be quite unique, and one person might actually require you to sit and wait with them at the vets or something while they have their appointment, or is it like a unique thing that's tailored to what the customer needs?
So the answer is a bit of both.
Yeah,
So we have our structured pricing within our own areas. Obviously, we're
yeah,
operational in different territories. So in each territory,
yeah,
the pricing is slightly different depending on where we are in the
yeah,
country. So we do have our core pricing. We do
yeah,
tend to stay with customers as well. If they're going to the vets, for example, we will stay with them and wait with them, generally because of a lot of our customers need our extra help with them as well. So
yeah,
how many people taxis could you get in and they would help you actually go in the vets and help you in the vets room as well. Whereas
yeah,
that's what we do as well. So, um, but in terms of if people are going sort of somewhere further away, then that is just tailored. The pricing is
yeah,
then tailored to what the individual person needs. So, we
yeah,
might have a core pricing for our local vets, but say they've got to go to a specialist vets, which is, outside of the area, then that would just depend on, like where they're going and sort of
yeah,
how long we expect to be at the appointment and stuff. But the customer always knows what the price is before the day of the service. They always know in advance. We don't just suddenly go, oh yes, that's £100, please.
yeah,
They
yes,
always know in advance and they'll agree the payment beforehand. There's no
yeah,
surprises with us. We
that's
don't take the
amazing.
long route so that we can
Yeah.
charge you extra.
That's it. Oh, amazing. No, I love that. And many of our listeners are neurodivergent or people who suffer with anxiety or maybe just be low confidence. So knowing that these services are actually available and that somebody is there to help them because you've got the actual going to the appointment and stuff, but then you've got the managing the appointment as well. And maybe if they need to help make further appointments and if they're,
Yeah.
if they can't speak to people and, as well as confidently as someone who was with them. So someone from your company, so to speak. So when it comes to people like that, I've touched on a few things there. So maybe neurodivergent people or people who are less confident or anxious. How do you say that a service like yours can help reduce some of that stress?
It just means that if they want us to, we can just manage all of that for them. So again, everybody's individual. So where some people might say, "Oh, can you just make the appointment for me?" Or, "Can you actually come to the appointment and speak on my behalf?" Everybody's different. Where some people will be confident to make the appointment, but then they won't be confident at the actual appointment themselves. Or some people will they'll want you to make the appointment, but they'll speak at the appointment and you're just there to support them if they, say beforehand, "Oh, actually, don't let me forget to ask, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah,
So again, it's not a one size fits all, and we don't really operate like that. Each person is treated as an individual. So whatever that person's individual preferences, that's what we'll work with. So if they need us to make the appointment for them, that's fine. If they need
yeah,
us to speak on their behalf, that's also fine. If they want to write things down, or if they want to manage the appointment themselves, but they just want us there as backup, that's also fine as well. It's whatever each individual customer is treated as an individual. We do not have a one size fits all policy.
that's amazing. That's so lovely to hear, and it's so nice to know that these things exist. I didn't realize that when before chatting with you, I was like, but when we talked about pet taxis, I just presumed like normally see it where people are they've got a new pet and then maybe they're getting them from Scotland and you can't go and get them
Yeah,
themselves or something, that kind of thing. So to have this in a local community is massive, isn't it? And
yeah,
it's really important and really important because it'll stop people feeling so isolated and so worried about
yeah,
it. Because maybe if the pet, just going for the example of maybe if you want to go to the groomers, if the dog needs grooming or things like that, they may be sat at home just put off by doing that because they're like,
yeah,
because of their insecurities or their differences, or they're worried about perceptions or any of there's all
yeah,
manner of things that why people don't book appointments, isn't they? So just having that
yeah.
personal care and that help is massive. So when it comes to pet transport, I think there's a lot of confusion out there regarding safety and how to transport pets, safely and legally and all of that. And there's so much you see little bits of it from your car insurance companies when they want to sell you something or scare you or whatever it is. So when it comes to that kind of side of it, so the kind of legalities and the kind of safety aspect, so what what do you kind of see the problem areas are, and when people transporting pets in unsuitable ways?
I think the biggest problem is a complete lack of education out there,
Yeah,
and a lot of assumptions are happening. So I think there's a lot of work that needs doing around the whole pet transport area. So from my perspective, I see a lot of people transporting pets incorrectly just because people just don't really know any different to what they're doing.
yeah,
I think that one of the biggest problems is social media. So someone says, "Oh, I'm using this product, it's great," and then everyone goes, "Oh, I'm using that as well," which is one of the biggest problems, because of course it is great if you haven't had a car accident. If you're in a car accident using a pet transport product that's not crash tested, chances
yeah,
are it's not going to hold out in the event of an accident. And the US have done a whole load of research on this, which sadly the UK is very far behind in our research. But I'm hoping to do some research that will create
yeah,
educational content for people, just so that
yeah,
people really understand. Because it's one thing to go on to,
yeah,
the internet, or go to a store and go, "Oh, I'm going to buy this product. It's got great reviews," which it may well have great reviews, but that doesn't mean
yeah,
it's a great product. And then they use clever marketing terms, don't they? Like, it's safety tested. So you think, "Oh, well, that must be safe then." And if they're
yeah,
selling it at your local pet store, then obviously it must be great, but it's
yeah,
it's not. So when I say crash tested is the same 30 mile an hour forward facing crash test that children's car seats go through.
right,
Any
yeah,
pet transport equipment that's crash tested, that's going to be the way to go. Now,
yeah,
the legalities of transporting pets are, it's such a grey area. Everybody's heard of Rule 57 of the Highway Code. Pets must be restrained. But honestly, that's probably not worth the paper it's written on, because number one, it's open to interpretation, and number two, who is actually enforcing that law? In theory, the police, but I think the police have got other things to worry about right now, not
Yeah.
whether a dog's on the back seat unrestrained or not.
Yeah.
Now, no data actually exists for how much of a problem pets being transported incorrectly in the UK is, because the data just does not exist. And I've
Yeah.
had that debated in Parliament, so I do know for a fact that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And also, through the NHS, they also don't collect any data on how much of a problem pets are injuring people. Because you've got to remember, if your dog's on the back seat and they're not restrained, or they're restrained using a cheap piece of equipment which is not fit for purpose, then if you're in a car accident, your dog is going to come flying at you, which is going to hurt like a lot. So, but the NHS would note your injuries down as you were in a road traffic accident. They wouldn't note that down, that those injuries were sustained because of your pet. So there's a huge gap of data that's missing, which is also what I'm campaigning. I am trying to campaign for that data to be collected. And it's not
Yeah.
a quick win, right? This is what we need to collect that data over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because pets are the new kids. So if it's not a huge problem now, it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah, it is that. And like you say, there's so much out there, isn't there? Like people go on social media or they go onto the internet or they'll go into the local, Halfords or wherever it is and say, oh, I need a seatbelt for my dog or whatever. And they're most businesses are only interested in selling you whatever
Exactly.
they've got on the shelves, isn't it? And
Exactly.
they have all of this clever wording and things. So you think, oh, you're doing the right thing, but
Exactly.
actually, it's like anything in the dog industry. There just needs a lot more awareness because nobody wants to transport the pet and something go wrong or for that
Exactly.
piece
Yeah.
of equipment to fail. But there's just no awareness out there, is it? Like you say.
Yeah. I mean, I try to put as much out there as I can, but I'm only one person.
This is
There's only so
yeah.
much I can do.
Yeah, so we mentioned before on our pre-podcast chat about you developing a crash-tested pet transport equipment. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and the project that you're doing?
So at the moment, and this has been kind of in the background for the last at least 5 years. I've been on this mission. So obviously, given what I do, I transport pets every single day. I've been doing this for 11 years. So from where I very first started 11 years ago to where I am today is two completely different places. And across
Yeah,
the duration of that time, I've tested out a lot of equipment and both non-crash tested and crash tested. So at the moment, what we use in our day-to-day service is the best of what's available that is crash tested on the market today. So I can recommend a
yeah,
couple of products if people are looking to go out and buy a product today.
yeah,
But then even within what's crash tested, so there's a handful of equipment that's crash tested, but even within that, that
yeah,
still has flaws because, it might be a nice pretty color and it's fairly good piece of equipment, but
yeah,
it's been designed by a product designer or an engineer, and they've looked at the product and gone, this needs to be crash tested. What do we need to do to the product to make it crash tested, which is great that it is crash tested. That's cool.
yeah,
That's what we want. But then the flip side of that is, and this is where I think my expertise in pet transport really helps to design a product, is because number one, you've got to get it on a dog, or if it's a cat basket for a cat. And if you've got a dog, dogs rarely ever sit still to have their harnesses put on. So
yeah,
you've got to think about the pet that you're using, who's using the piece of equipment as well. So if you've got like a really wriggly dog, do you know how hard it is to put a harness on a dog that is
yeah,
absolutely not sitting still? And
yeah,
again, like if the dog's got really long fur, like a Pomeranian, that's, how are you adjusting those straps is really hard. So it's with my expertise that I can look at the equipment and I can
yeah,
see it from a different perspective, because this is what I do. This is what I've been doing for 11 years. So
yeah,
from a usability factor as well, like some of them are really hard to adjust. And
yeah,
especially, like I say, if you've got a really wiggly dog, or if you've got like a really
yeah,
long haired dog, like a Pomeranian or something, it's can be really hard to actually use the equipment. And
yeah,
when you're going out in your car, you want to put your seatbelt on quick and you're away you go. You haven't got 10
yeah,
minutes to stand there putting a harness on a dog, have you? So you want it to
yeah,
be quick to put on.
Yeah.
And the thing is with a lot of the equipment is it's a lot of the harnesses are actually ones that the dog has to step into or you have to put their feet through. Now, not all dogs want to have their front feet touched, or
Yeah.
I think only one of them actually goes over the head. But again, the dog might not want
Yeah.
a harness to go over their head. And
Yeah.
then it's about the choice of sizes that are available as well. So you really teeny tiny, like teacup Yorkshire Terriers, for example, there
Yeah.
isn't really a product that actually exists for them as well.
Right.
So there's just a huge gap in the market, not just for equipment that's designed factoring in like everything, not just the car safety, but the usability from the owner's perspective and the comfort for the dog as well. So if
Yeah.
someone's going on holiday, they could be in their car for like 3 hours. And if you've got a piece of equipment that perhaps is not the best material or the most comfortable, that's going to end up rubbing like on the dog's fur. And it could, by the time you get there, the dog could have like sores on their skin, especially if you've got a dog like a Jack Russell, who's a really short-haired dog. Perhaps not so much of an issue if you've got a Pomeranian, because they've got long, long fur. But
Yeah.
if you've got a really short-furred dog, then it could be that that could rub on their fur, and by the time then you're in need of a vet.
Yeah.
So there's just so many different aspects that aren't considered with the equipment available at the moment, and that's where I'm looking to use my expertise. So I do have a product designer and an engineer on board already. We
Amazing.
are looking to get a vet on board as well, because obviously we want to make sure that it's the best possible fit for the pets, and that we also want to make sure that if because at the end of the day, car safety is about trying to minimize the injury sustained, right? If you're in a car accident, you are still going to be injured, even with all of the safety features in a car, you're still going to be injured. It's just a case of how injured are you going to be. So it's kind
Yeah.
of the same with dogs. So if you're creating a car harness, and this is what the design looks like, or the shape of it, or whatever, or the fit of it, how is that actually in a real life scenario? How is that going to impact the dog and like their internal organs and their external, like
Yeah.
legs and stuff like that? So
Yeah.
it's really important to for this to be a really collaborative design and thought through process.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. So do you have some where are you with your product? Do you have some designs in mind? Do you have whereabouts are you with it to
So our first product is a dog car harness for a dog under 15 kilograms, because that's kind of a quick win for us. We kind of already know what's wrong with the harnesses, and we
yeah,
already know how to fix it. So whilst we're pre-design, we've got pretty good ideas of what the solution is. We're
yeah,
just at that point where we actually need the money to get the designs, because we've got a product designer who's like, right, so I'm ready to go, but we don't have the money to pay him. So
yeah,
we're looking at, like, we've been applying for grant funding. Unfortunately, we haven't been successful in any grant funding. We have just launched a GoFundMe. Obviously,
yeah,
I appreciate, not everybody's got spare money to give right now, but
yeah.
it's yeah, this isn't going to get off the ground without any funds, unfortunately. That's the reality that we're in.
Yeah, that's it. We can put the link to the GoFundMe under the podcast. So if anybody's listening and they want to donate and get involved, that's a really good way for them to do that. Because I'm sure people are listening, like everybody's got the same goal, haven't they? Is they want their pets to be as safe as possible. So this is another way that they can help with that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then once we've got a product that's ready to launch, so it shouldn't take us that long to design and crash test and everything. So once we've got a product ready to go, we'll probably do something like a Kickstarter so people can jump on board and get their product ordered early, get their harness ordered, and then as soon as they're manufactured, they'll be getting their
Ready?
product and ready to go.
Amazing, exciting. It's super exciting. I loved it. I'm looking forward to watching it unfold and hoping that you'll be able to move forward with it quite quickly. So going back to the pet taxi service that you've done, and just touching on the fact that this is such a needed service in the local communities, because like we say, there's plenty of pet transport people going from A to B, but what you do is completely unique in the terms of the care that you give to the human element as well as the pets as well. And it just takes such a massive strain away from a lot of people, doesn't it? So we touched on a little bit earlier about how it needs to be growing in different areas. And one of the things that you've actually done for your business is grown it into a franchise, isn't it? So could you tell us a little bit more about that and what made you go down the franchise route?
So it's actually the customers that encouraged me to to do that from. It was actually the customers who've basically been the driving force, pardon the pun,
Amazing.
behind the whole business. So actually, originally the business was called Pets to Vets, and it was only the customers saying that they wanted to go to different places other than the vets that made me change the name to Pets to Places.
Amazing.
So it was, that was the customers I've got to thank for that, and it's actually also the customers I've got to thank for the franchise because when I was with customers and they'd say, "Oh, my friend or family lives in such and such a town and they've got nothing like this service there," and it just made
Yeah.
me think, well, like if you don't have anybody to help you get where you need to go with your pets, how do you get them where they need to go? Like, because the bus service is a bit hit and miss, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
people taxis, again, they're a bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
Um, so, and if you don't really have any friends or family, because look, most people are at work during the day. So if everybody's at work with their car, who's helping you? And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, for everybody in their own personal life, whatever's going on in their life is their priority. So they might have said, yes, I'll help you at the vet's next week. But when it gets to next week, something came up in their own life and that's going to be their priority. And unfortunately, they're not going to help their friend get their dog to the vet, are they? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was just the customers telling me how they were, saying there's nothing like this out there in other areas that they know people in, and it just got me to thinking, how do people manage? That must be actually really stressful. And I've had so many calls from outside of our operational areas from people literally crying and begging on the phone, like, please come and help me.
Mm.
My dog's going to die if you don't come and help me. And I had one from the Isle of Wight, and it was really upsetting because she said, my dog's literally so sick he's going to die if I don't get him to the vets, and I just haven't got anybody to help get him there. And obviously I couldn't help because I'm in Milton Keynes, which is like right in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
There was nothing I can do, but I get calls like that all the time from people who need the
Yeah.
service in their area, and we don't have anybody there. Like we help where we can, we will go and help people where we
Yeah.
can, but you know, we're only
Yeah.
operational in 3 different areas right now. So until we've got more franchisees on board, unfortunately, we can't help everybody, which is hard. It's hard when you've got a very upset owner on the phone and
Yeah.
they're asking for your help and you just can't help them because we're not in their area.
Yeah, it's hard. So, if anybody's listening that might be interested in this and thinking, pricking their interest and going, oh, actually, this is something that I'm quite interested in. I quite like driving around, I like helping people. So, it can be quite daunting, can't it, when you start up any kind of business with the legalities, even though the dog industry has got no regulations whatsoever, and it can be a minefield. And I think that puts people off as well. So, when it comes to your franchise and anybody listening that might be interested in that, could you tell us a little bit more about what will happen if they was interested in becoming a franchisee and what kind of support they get during the process?
So we offer a lot of support. I'm very, very big on support as well. As a neurodivergent myself, I'm ADHD, so I know how important it is to help and support people. I used to be a franchisee of a business where there was zero help and support at all, like not even
Yeah.
anything.
Oh,
So we're really big on training as well, and we adapt a bit like our customers, where we don't have one size fits all. I'm the same with franchisees. Everybody's coming from a completely different background. Everybody's got whatever skills that they've got from their previous working life,
yeah.
or maybe they haven't worked before. So we completely, fully support people in whatever that looks like for them. So one of our franchisees is dyslexic, so we adapt our training materials for him because it's obviously bulks
Yeah.
of text are not the one for him. Um,
Yeah.
so, so our initial training is a fully supportive, really hands-on training program, which again, it's we have a training program, we have a model for that, but if it needs adapting for people, that's absolutely fine. We just adapt it to what people's individual needs are. And again,
Yeah.
with the ongoing support, so in the beginning stages when franchisees first join us, we catch up with them weekly on the phone or on like a Zoom call, just so that we can help them. We put business plans in place as well. And that's not just saying, oh, go and do that. Like we'll talk through everything. What does that look like? So what does day
Yeah,
one of your new business look like? This is what it looks like. So we don't say, oh, here's your business, off you go. We put a plan in place as well. And we
yeah,
break that down into really small bite-sized chunks as well. So
yeah,
like go off and do this, but what does doing this look like? So we really break it down so it's really clear what we're talking about, and we give advice about each. So we've got over 30 categories of marketing and advertising, which is pretty much free. All of them are free, albeit I think there's like one or two which might cost a bit of money, but so
yeah,
for each category we'll be really clear on, okay, go and do this, and this is how you do it. This is what we expect people to ask of you. This is what your answer should be. So there's
yeah,
never, one of the things I find with ADHD is if I don't know what to expect, I might freak out and say the wrong thing,
yeah,
which
yeah,
happens a lot, to be honest. But I'm kind of used to it now. So I always like to know, okay, if you've got a question for me, what is the question going to be? And I need to pre-think of what my answer is going to be. So again, we don't, it's scary when you're going out there with your new business and you're going out into the community.
yeah,
You've got just that thought of going in somewhere and having to open your mouth and speak is like, what words am I going to say? So we kind of come up with a little bit of a script. This is what you could say when you walk in the door.
yeah,
This is the kind of things they're going to ask from you, and it's about preempting those things so that when somebody does start their own business, they're not going, what the hell am I doing on day one? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. We'll
yeah,
put together a really robust plan, even down to the nitty-gritty of what you have to say or
yeah,
what you could say when you're out there telling everybody about your new business. And again, there's no silly questions in life. If you don't know the answer to something, then you don't know. If I'm very open about people asking me questions, because if you don't know, then you don't know. Like there's
yeah,
nothing to be embarrassed about. And I think sometimes we always feel like, oh, I don't want to ask that question because that sounds really stupid. It doesn't. It doesn't. If you don't know the answer to a question, then why wouldn't you ask the question? And it's
yeah,
better to ask the questions than, you know, not know the
yeah,
answer and then be freaking out about it and getting anxious about it and stuff like that. We're really, really all about helping and supporting. We've already got franchisees on board who are on the spectrum as well. So we're just all about helping each other and supporting each other, and what works for one person then doesn't work for somebody else. Just because you've got a group of people who are neurodivergent doesn't mean they've all got the same struggles or the same, whatever. It's everybody's different and everybody's an individual, and just like the customers are all individual and are the way that we help and support them, it's the same with the franchisees. Each person is an individual, and whatever extra help and support they need, that's
yeah.
absolutely fine. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, that's amazing, and like you say, that level of support isn't there, is it really? I think so. There's a lot of in lots of different industries, but particularly in the dog industry, you can get to, or you'll be part of an organization or something, and as soon as they've got your money, you're kind of like left, and you're like, oh, okay, what do I do now? And it's
Yeah.
daunting as well, isn't it? And it's nice just to have that support. And the dog world's full of opinions. I'm sure you've probably come up against that yourself, and I think anybody getting into the dog world has to have a little bit of a thick skin. But I think for
Yeah.
neurodivergent people, it can be quite hard. And that's one of the things I found. 11 years ago when I started my business, I always say to my husband, I'm like, if I realized I was throwing myself into a lion's den, I probably would not have gone down this path. But doing the work I do now and meeting other neurodivergent dog professionals, and it's about finding that support, isn't it? And finding people, like-minded people, and it's a massive thing when you've got that support network. So
It really
you
is.
mentioned
Yeah.
there, talking about neurodivergence and how you're neurodivergent yourself, and how a few people in the office and how your franchisees, some of those are as well. So when it comes to that, how do you find that just being neurodivergent either helps or hinders you when you're running your business? Do you think it's kind of a strength or kind of a little bit of a disadvantage? How do you think that helps and hinders when it comes to both how you work and run your business, but also from the client's perspective as well?
I think it really depends on your mindset as well. So I
Yeah,
think for me personally, I would say that some of my do make running a business a struggle. And
Yeah.
I've had to really learn over the years not to, like procrastination, for example.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that I've really struggled is just procrastination. But
Yeah.
I think that's the thing though. It's, are you going to be one of those people that goes, oh, I can't run my own business because I'm neurodivergent and I struggle with this, that, and the other? Or are you going to be one of those people that goes, do you know what? Yeah, I am neurodivergent, but actually I'm going to find a solution, because there is a
Yeah.
solution to everything, no matter what you struggle with in life. Like
Yeah.
accounting, oh God, I'm really bad at accounting. But you know what? Get an accountant, get a
Yeah.
bookkeeper, get someone to help you, because at the end of the day, just because you are running your business doesn't mean you have to literally do it by yourself. And even if
Yeah.
you're only asking somebody else for advice, then like
Yeah.
just get the help and support that you need. There's no problem with asking for help. There's no problem with saying, this is not my strength.
Yeah.
Can somebody help me with it? Because accounts is not my strength.
Yeah.
Admin is not my strength. I've got lots of skill sets, and everybody's the same, whether somebody's neurodivergent or not. Everybody's got their own skill set. Everybody's got stuff that they're
Yeah.
really good at and stuff that they're not so much. And it's the
Yeah.
stuff that you're not so much, that's the plus side of having a franchise, is because then you've got other people who are on board already to help and support you.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you're good at communicating, because obviously a lot of what we do is communicating. You know, we do have a lot of speaking on the phone. We do
Yeah.
have a lot of speaking to customers to face. We have a lot of interacting with
Yeah.
you like other pet businesses like vets and groomers and dog walkers and people like that. So, or dog trainers and stuff. So as long as your verbal communication is fine, if you're not so good at writing things down, like I was saying, one of our franchisees is dyslexic, like don't worry about that, because there's always solutions to everything in life. There is never a problem that cannot be solved.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it as well. And I think it's just knowing, and that's where the support comes in, and having like a nice supportive network and community. Because I think as neurodivergent people, sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to ask, or maybe seem to be stupid, or I'm worried about this, or how I'm perceived. And I think sometimes if you've got that support network around you, then no
Yeah.
question is a silly question, is it? So
Absolutely. And I
it's
think being a neurodivergent founder myself, I've kind of been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So you
yeah,
know, I'm very well placed to actually help and support other neurodivergents. And I just
yeah,
think, you know, if you wanna start your own business, then don't let the fact that you're neurodivergent hold you back, because like I say, there's solutions to everything. There's nothing that you cannot overcome if that's what your mindset is. If your mindset is the opposite and you just think, oh, I can't do that,
yeah,
then you know,
yeah.
that's you control your mind. Your mind does not control you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, definitely. I love that. So, and I think as well, we have a lot of strengths as well, don't we? I think there's a lot of things that we can do
Absolutely.
that other people can't do. And we're like, like when we get hyper focused or something, or
Yeah.
when something becomes a special interest and we constantly research it and things. And yeah, so there's a lot that of strengths we have as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
amazing.
Hence how I became the country's leading authority on pet transport.
Yeah.
Because once I had hold of that, I was like, I just do, you know, when you like delve into a deep dive of learning everything you can about a
Yeah.
subject. Yeah,
Oh God,
that's how I
yeah.
became an expert at what I do, because it just intrigued, I find it fascinating. And when you look at the evolution of cars from like the 1800s, when cars were first invented, um they were modeled on a bicycle. The design of
Yeah.
a car was modeled on a bicycle. So cars didn't even have steering wheels. They had what kind of looks like a bicycle handle as opposed to a steering wheel. They didn't even have brakes or anything when they were first invented in the 1800s. It's fascinating when you look at the
Wow.
evolution. Well, to me, it's fascinating. Probably I'm a bit of a geek. So I don't care. I think it's fascinating.
And that's it, and that's exactly it, isn't it? So we get our special interest, and we get interested in something, and that's what makes us experts in our field. Because obviously we do
Exactly.
hyper focus, we zone in, and it's so much. And I love that about being neurodivergent. With whether
Yeah.
my background is agility and business coaching and all the other stuff, and now the neurodivergent side of it. You just go down these little rabbit holes, and I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Then you'll find
Yeah,
something else out, and then you're like, wow. And before you know it, you know quite a lot of in-depth knowledge that you'll say to someone like it's just like common knowledge. I'll speak to my husband about something, and I'm like, oh yeah, this, and he'll be like just looking at me going out, and I'm like, because I've researched it so much I think it's common
yeah,
knowledge. And then he's like, oh, then you have to go and explain it again, and it opens it all up again. So
yeah.
fascinating. So it's been fantastic talking to you. But if anybody is listening and they're thinking, oh, I don't know where to start, so maybe it's that they need a service like you offer, or they didn't realize how important pet transport, the safety element of it is, where would you suggest they start? So if they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, what would that starting point be?
I would, if anybody can find, there's lots of information on my website. There's lots of information on my social media channels as well. So whichever aspect you're coming from, whether you're looking at car safety for your pets, or whether you're needing to use a service, or you're thinking about joining us as a franchisee, head to my websites, which you can pop the links in, can't you?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah,
All my social media channels, and just reach out and connect with me.
yeah,
I'm very much, when people have a chat with me about thinking about joining the franchise, I'm like, look, there's no pressure selling from me. This is either
yeah,
the right opportunity for you or it isn't, and that's cool.
yeah,
My educational content around how to transport pets, that's all free content out there. Have a look at the content, have a look at
yeah,
my research, and just take that and use it for your own pets.
yeah.
And if you need my service, then hopefully we're operational in your area and you can just contact us through our website.
Yeah, amazing. Fantastic. It's been brilliant talking to you. And then to end the podcast, I always do 5 quick fire round questions. So we can get to know you a little bit better. So are you ready? They're super difficult.
Yes,
First one, tea or coffee?
tea.
Yes, I do this. So I'm getting a run of people that are tea people. And I always say this at the end of the podcast because normally everybody's been coffee, coffee, coffee. And I don't really
Oh, I
like
don't drink
that much.
coffee. Never drunk
No,
coffee. Hate coffee.
yeah, yes. I'm glad somebody's in my camp. So, what's your favorite dog breed if you had to pick one?
Just because this is my dog's breed is a Cavalier King Charles.
Amazing. So I have spaniels too. So I have springers and working cockers. So I am a spaniel
Oh.
person. I get you. So what's your go-to dog product that you recommend or use all the time?
So one of the products that we do use in the taxi at the moment is the Sleepy Pod dog car harness, which is super expensive, but they are the best of what's currently on the market, obviously until my equipment's available. So
Yeah,
if you are looking for a car harness, I would recommend the Sleepy Pod, but they are very expensive, like over £100. So
yeah.
yeah,
It's worth it if it keeps your pet safe, isn't it? So
yes, exactly.
amazing. So if you had to choose, would you be choosing a lead walk or an off-lead adventure?
Oh, probably an off-lead adventure through the woods.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people say an off-lead one, but as long as you don't see anybody else. So
Yes, we do a lot of off-lead walking in the woods, and you don't generally see too many other people there.
yeah, or go out when it rains. You never see many people when it rains.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. One of my dogs, she's a bit of a princess. She doesn't like the rain.
Oh, really? Oh, I love that. My dogs don't care. The muddier, the wetter, the better. So, oh, amazing. And the last one, what's your favorite way to recharge after a busy day?
Literally just sitting on the sofa, cuddling with the dogs, and they fall asleep on you, and their little warm bodies, you can feel their breathing and
Yeah,
just their little snoring and their snuffling in their sleep.
I know.
That's absolutely the ultimate chill switching
I
off,
know.
because it's so important. As a neurodivergent, for me, it's so important that my brain gets that opportunity to switch off at the end of the day. And that is
Yeah,
one thing I do say to everybody that works with me after like 7 o'clock, please don't try and have a conversation with me, because you will absolutely not get the best of me at
yeah.
all. Because my brain is switched off at that point. I have to switch off every day or I'd go insane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's always amazing as well. Like I love, like just like you say, my dog snoring or the chewing or anything like. If it was my husband, it would drive me insane and be super annoying. But when it's a dog, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Dog
Oh,
gets away with everything.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And the most important question: if people are wanting to get in touch with you or learn more about what you do, where can they find you?
Find me on LinkedIn, which you'll share the links,
Yep.
or contact me through my website or any of my social media channels, which I know you're going to share the
Yep,
links
I've got
to.
them.
So thank you.
Amazing. It's all right. We'll pop them all under the show notes as well. So you can just click on there and get to whichever bit of information you will connect with any social media that you are on. So amazing. So thank you very much, Claire, for coming on. It's been fantastic to chat with you. It's one of the subjects that I didn't realize before our pre-podcast chat was just so in depth. Like you say, yeah, I just think you just think pet transport and you kind of either think harness, seatbelt thing, crates, those kind of things. But when you delve into it a lot deeper, it is just one of those sort of topics that is really, really important, isn't it? So
Yeah.
amazing. So hopefully our listeners will have got a lot from this chat. They're going to head into the link section and check you out on there. But thank you very much for coming on. I've really, really enjoyed it. And if you are listening to the podcast for the first time, please make sure you hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for watching.